no dessert more intimidating than the souffle. But the reality is, it's actually pretty easy to make. You just have to know a few tricks and tips, and I'm going to show you that method today. It's really simple. A souffle is two components, really: a base and whipped egg whites. Now, once you know the method, you can really take this and play with it and flavor it in any way you'd like. In a small pot, I have 1 cup of whole milk. Add to that 1 vanilla bean. I like to cut through the vanilla bean completely, separating it into 2 halves, and then slide the back of your knife along the vanilla bean, scraping up the seeds. That goes right into the pot here. Now, if you didn't have vanilla beans, you could certainly use a little bit of vanilla extract here. Add a generous pinch of coarse salt. So this just needs to come to a simmer, and really what you're doing is you're infusing the milk with the vanilla bean. I have 3 egg yolks here, and these are from large eggs, and I have 1/4 cup of superfine sugar, which is also known as caster sugar, and I'm going to mix that together with 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. I like to mix the flour and the sugar together because it prevents clumps from forming. It kind of breaks up the flour a little bit, and you're less likely to get clumps in your pastry cream. So now this goes right in with the egg yolks here. Just whisk this together. This mixture is a little bit thick, but once you add that hot milk, it should lighten up nicely. Now, the flour adds the thickness that you need for a pastry cream. I'm going to just fish out my vanilla beans because they've imparted their flavor in the milk. And now for the process, which is called tempering, I'm going to gradually add some of this hot milk into my egg yolk mixture here. So I'll take about maybe half of it, and you want to whisk this quickly and make sure that it's nice and smooth. And so now I'm going to take this tempered egg yolk mixture, and it's going to go right back into the pot with the rest of the milk here. So now I need to bring this up to a boil and cook the pastry cream for about 1 to 2 minutes until it's really thick and slightly shiny. So the pastry cream here, it's ready to go. So now here's the fun part. What you can do is you can flavor this base in so many different ways. Whether you like a lemon souffle, you can add 1/4 cup of lemon juice and 2 teaspoons of lemon zest. The same thing if you like tangerine or even orange would be great. It gives that kind of creamsicle flavor to your souffle. I really love passion fruit, and you can use 1/4 cup of the passion fruit puree. And I'm sure there are a lot of chocolate lovers out there. I'm a chocolate lover as well. This is milk chocolate, but you could use bittersweet chocolate, whatever your preference may be. So this is 7 ounces of melted and slightly cooled milk chocolate, and that goes right into the pot here with your thickened pastry cream or base. And so just stir this together until it's nice and smooth. It gets a little gluey and thick, but really, we're going to lighten this mixture up once it's cooled completely with egg whites, which is the other component in the souffle. So this looks well mixed. I'm going to put it right back into the bowl that I started with. Cover this with plastic wrap, and you want to make sure that you press it directly on the surface of your base here so that it doesn't form a skin. And now this has to cool completely, so that's going to take probably about an hour, maybe an hour and 15 minutes or so before we add the egg whites to it. I have 5 large egg whites here in my stand mixer. I have a whisk attachment, and I'm going to start off on low speed, and I'm going to break up the egg whites a little bit. Always, when you're whipping egg whites, you want to make sure that your bowl is perfectly clean, free of detergent or fat, because that will inhibit the volume or the whipping of the whites. I'm going to add a pinch of cream of tartar, which helps in stabilizing your egg whites. I'm going to gradually adjust the speed as I'm whipping the egg whites. I'm going to go about to medium here, and what that does is starting off at a lower speed and graduating to a higher speed creates lots of little bubbles instead of a few bigger bubbles, which is really helpful in creating a stable egg white. And you really need that stability because in baking with these souffles, you want them to have enough structure so that they hold their shape. So I'm at medium here. We're getting nice and foamy. I'm going to increase it even a little bit higher to a medium-high speed. So the egg whites are nice and opaque. They're very white. and they're just about at soft peaks. So now I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of superfine sugar, and this is really what makes whipped egg whites into a meringue. A meringue is egg whites and sugar. So slowly add this so that the sugar has time to dissolve in the egg whites. And now I'm going to increase the speed to high and whisk this until you get stiff peaks. So our meringue is at a stiff peak. You can see it's standing straight up. It's glossy and shiny, and now is the time to fold into our base. So to do that, what you need to do is take about 1/3 of the mixture, and this now gets stirred into the base. Now you don't have to be that gentle at this point in time, because really what you're doing is you're lightening the base up a little bit more, and lightening this mixture will help in folding in the rest of the egg whites. So now add the rest of the whites here, and here is where you need to be gentle. You want to bring up the base or the chocolate mixture from the bottom of the bowl up and over the egg whites, and this is called folding. I'm rotating the bowl as I do that so that you evenly fold or combine the ingredients. You don't want to over mix here because you will deflate your batter and you won't get as high of a souffle, but this looks good. And now we're going to fill our ramekins. Now I'm using 6-ounce ramekins, and I have them brushed with a little bit of softened butter and dusted generously with some superfine sugar. And what this is said to do is to help the souffle climb up the sides of the ramekin. Now, there's a lot of controversy there whether or not that actually works, but what it does is it helps when you're eating or serving the souffle, it doesn't stick to the side of the ramekin. So make sure you go through the process of doing that. Now I'm using an ice cream scoop here. I like to use those for portioning, and I'm giving a scoop to each first so that they're perfectly even. Make sure your oven is preheated to 400 degrees with the rack in the lower third of the oven. And they bake for about 16 to 18 minutes. So you want to time this just right and make sure that your guests are all sitting down at the table ready for their souffles. So the souffles are out of the oven, they're risen and set, and now moving quickly, move them to a plate. Now I have a pair of tongs that I've wrapped with a towel. It's a little trick in getting the souffle to the plate quickly. Now you know the technique. You'll be making souffles whichever flavor you'd like a French chef. Enjoy, guys.